So welcome to the EIP Editor Apprenticeship meeting. I'm so happy to see this great attendance here. We announced the apprenticeship program in late July this year as an outcome of a discussion that happened in the EIP meetings. So far we had 6 meetings, but this program got a lot of momentum with Tim Baco's recent tweet. Thank you, Tim, for the tweet. And I see a lot of new names on the screen. So let's start with a quick round of introduction. We all know why we are here today. So let's share who are you, the EIP type and category you are interested or have expertise on, and anything specific that you'd like to share with the group, just in 2 or 3 sentences maybe. I can go first. I'm Pooja Ranjan, the head-in-chief with the Ethereum cat herders. So I spent a decent amount of my time in coordination, education, and process building in the Ethereum ecosystem. Have been interacting with the EIP editors, the researchers, and the client development team to communicate the latest progress and about the proposals with the Ethereum community. With this meeting, I hope to help onboard some of you to contribute as an EIP editor in turn, to be working closely with the EIP editors and help provide support that is needed to come up with a good standard, the better standard for Ethereum blockchain. From the cat herders team, William Schwab has been helping a lot on EIP editing. I don't know, maybe William, if you would like to go next and introduce yourself.
Yeah, sure. I'm William. I've been with the cat herders since the cat herders were a thing, and I do stuff, and I guess that's about it.
Thank you. We have Light Client, Matt Gannett, who is one of the EIP editors.
Hi, I'm Matt. I usually go by Light Client on the internet. I am a cat. I am herded by Pooja frequently. I work for a team called Quilt, actually. We're a small research development team. We do a lot of protocol related things, and I help edit EIPs whenever I can.
Thank you, Matt. I see Tim Baco on the call. Tim?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, my audio's been weird. So I'm Tim. I work at the Ethereum Foundation. I run the Awkward Devs calls. So that's the main thing I do. And as part of that, I'm pretty involved with EIPs because they're the main format where changes are proposed to Ethereum.
We have a couple of more contributors. Jared.
Oh, hi. I'm Jared. I just started getting into Ethereum like 6-7 months ago, and I've just been trying to find as many ways I can learn and help out where I can.
Thank you, Jared. I see Joshua as well on the call.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Sorry, I'm also having some audio issues today. Hi, everyone. I'm Joshua. I work at the Ethereum Foundation as the community lead for Ethereum.org. Been doing a little bit of work with the cat herders now for a month or 2 now, I guess. Primarily got interested in that just as a way of trying to communicate a lot of the changes that are encapsulated in like a lot of the things that cat herders deal with, whether that's all core devs or whether that's EIPs, and trying to take that and better communicate that to like a wider audience and the non-technical folks that we often find that land on our Discord or land on the website.
Thank you. And I see a lot of new faces on the screen today. So anyone who is new would like to share something about himself?
Yeah, hi, my name's Chris, and I got into Ethereum, or just became interested in it at the beginning of 2021, and now it's like all I think about. So I would love to get involved with EIP editing, and I'm an economics student right now, but I think that this would becoming an EIP editor would be a great way to enter into the space, and kind of like my first role, like technical role. So thanks.
Nice.
Thank you. Yeah, I have been seeing a couple of more faces. Don't wait for me to say.
Oh, cool.
Please jump in.
I can jump in. Hey everyone, I'm John. I got into Ethereum around when CryptoKitties launched because a friend of mine was on that team. I didn't actually read the NFT spec until like January, and then I just fell in love. Quit my consulting job, started making NFTs full time. And I heard the call from, I think it was maybe Tim on Twitter, because we follow each other, that EIPs need some NFT specific love in particular, and I hadn't even realized that was a job, but I jumped on it because I'd love to give back.
All right, I think I can go next. Hi, everyone. I'm Chi. Love to contribute to the Ethereum community in a way, in some way, and also love to learn more from it. So I think being an EIP editor gives me the chance to do both at the same time. I'm a software developer full time, so hopefully I'm able to help out here and there.
Hey, what's up? My name is Jay, and I've been interested in the Ethereum community for a long time. I've been to 2 DevCons now, the one in Osaka and Prague, and I kind of have felt like a lurker from the outside because I haven't really given back that much. I've done a lot of like dApp development projects and different things, but I've seen that the EIP role is something that's been asked for at least like half a year now. So here I am.
All right, so I'll go next. My name's Mike. I became reinterested in crypto early this year, probably like January, February. Really interested in on-chain data, really interested in on-chain automation, and basically how we can democratize DeFi, make it kind of a safer space for everybody. Been playing around a lot with NFTs and like trying to figure out like how we can make things more gas efficient by storing on like decentralized storage, because obviously on-chain storage is really, really expensive. So yeah, I think this is a great thing for me to be involved with and just kind of see like how the Ethereum community is evolving. And I went to the Lisbon conference. I went to ETH Lisbon a couple weeks ago after taking part in the ETH Online hackathon. And I know like Ethereum is where the evolution is happening in my opinion, where there's a sense of altruism because everybody's kind of budding out and gaining off of the things that are built within the Ethereum community.
Interesting. I see one.
So I guess it's, yeah, so I guess it's my turn, Pooja. So hello everyone. Let me turn on my camera if it's possible. Hello everyone, this is Shashank. I come from India, same country Pooja lives in. So I currently work as a VP of engineering in a smart home company. We develop smart home products. So I do most of the low level embedded stuff and also work on the cloud and the on the app end. So I basically handle all the software efforts that is happening inside our company. Similar to Alpha, I also got reinterested in crypto back a few months ago when I started to learn about the layer 2 solutions. I actually tried building out wallets back when I was in college because I was helping college. I was helping my university build a voting system on top of Ethereum back in 2017. Things are pretty bad at that point because there are not too many developer resources, but yeah, things are looking good right now. So I just wanted to hop back in and see how I can provide my experience in the low level stuff and understanding the architectural level decisions in the Ethereum project. That's about me.
Thank you. Anyone left? You're muted.
Oh, hi. My name is Shubhangi Gokhale. My background is basically, I used to be in Seoul, so I used to organize meetups about Ethereum and blockchain, and I was involved with the Bitcoin Center Korea. And after I got married, I took a break for a couple of years, and now I want to get back in. Currently part-time, but I have a legal and academic background, so I think I can help out in terms of formatting or low-level work as I get more involved. And I'm learning Solidity and some coding, and otherwise I think I can help with low-level editing and learn from everybody. Thank you.
Interesting. It's really exciting to see you guys here and the enthusiasm that I can feel for the contribution. I'm not sure like everyone is aware of the current EIPs type process that we are following. So if it's fine by everyone, I would like to take a few more, few minutes to kind of provide an overview of how EIPs are divided, what are the different types and categories, and how the process works. Let me quickly share my screen. So about the Ethereum cat headers, we are a decentralized project management and process improvement group for Ethereum blockchain. We are trying to provide any and all help that can be provided to the developers and the client team so they can continue working without bothering about how it to be communicated with the rest of the community. Today, we are going to see a bit about the EIPs. I used to call it a building block of Ethereum. It's a Ethereum improvement proposals. It's a design document that describes new feature, process, and information. And based on this, it is divided into further categories, a little bit of history. So it's actually coming up from Python enhancement proposals, which were PEPs, and PIPs were inspired by these PEPs, and our EIP, Ethereum improvement proposals, are also kind of inspired by PEPs and then BEPs. There are three types: standard, meta, and information. Standard track has 4 categories: core, ERC, networking, and interface. Generally, people get confused about ERC to be different than EIP, but it's not. ERC is a part of standard track EIP. So it's nothing different. It's an EIP. That's what we need to know. These information are provided in EIP 1, that is the purpose and guidelines provided with the present structure. Core EIPs are the EIPs which are generally considered for any upgrade that brings some protocol changes. And once these are finalized, there are no way we can change it. Currently, we are having 2 chains. One is called execution chain, another one is called as consensus chain, and we can see these specs over, the links are provided. So if someone is interested, they can go and check the specs. The Quilt team is also working on maintaining a Python library for Ethereum execution specs. This is something new that team is working on. As I mentioned, ERC, this is a standard type EIP. These are Ethereum requests for comments. These are application level standards. Of course, NFTs are part of them. So I understand someone is there to help out with that. That's going to be really great. We are looking a lot of help in this particular category of EIPs. Interface are the improvements around the client API and RPC standards. On execution level, some of you may have heard about EIP 1193, that is Ethereum provider for JavaScript and API. And on consensus client side, the team worked on having standardization of metrics, and they came up with the EIP 2159, and that is a common Prometheus metrics names for clients. Similarly, on networking side, it includes improvement around Dev P2P and light client protocols. They generally follow the same process for standardization as core EIPs. However, these are disassociated with upgrades. I mean, they don't have to wait for an upgrade to become a final standard. Have added an example, EIP 2124, that is fork identifier for chain compatibility. This is like one of the most active in discussion networking EIP. And for rest of the proposals, you can visit the link provided here. Meta EIP is by the name, it is Meta. It is to document the process and propose any implementation to the process. EIP 1 is Meta, and it is a living EIP. Living is a status that is provided to EIP 1. So we'll be learning about EIPs and statuses. Earlier, we used to keep all upgrade related information in Meta EIP, but recently we have moved all these information in execution specs repo as upgrade.md. So if you are trying to follow any upgrade, you can find the information on that particular upgrade name .md file. Informational EIPs, as by name, these are just to describe an Ethereum design or information about anything that is changing. That does not have to go for a hard fork, and it's just a community guideline. There's no mandate that it needs to be followed. One of the most popular informational EIP is EIP 2982 that explains the beacon chain. This is just a high-level overview of governing an EIP, or you can say how an EIP gets to the standard state. First, it has to be written. Guidelines are provided in EIP 1. You need to create a pull request at Ethereum/EIP's GitHub repository. Matt Gannat, who is here with us, he shared a lot of valuable information on one of the episode of Peep and Eep. Actually, that was the very first episode of Peep and Eep, an educational video series that cat herders run to describe how an EIP should be documented. I think it's going to be very important for everyone present here today, because when we know how to document, we would know how to help out the new author as a future editor. This is going to be one of the useful resources. So that's about writing. And once it is done, you need to socialize if you are an author, but if you are a reviewer, an editor, you would like to learn more about it. Reviewing is generally done by 3 sets of people or groups, you can say: EIP editors, client developers, and the community, of course. So client developers review are generally required for core EIPs and networking or interface EIPs. Generally, client developers do not have strong opinion about the ERCs, but community may have, because ERCs is mostly request for changes, and they are the one who are building more projects on top of it. This is the latest standardization process flow. So if we are looking for a standard EIP that is going to follow the straight path from idea to draft to review to last call to final, but there are some deviation. These are the statuses that are generally provided to an EIP during different phases. Living is the standard that is provided to only one EIP called EIP 1. If a proposal does not move along for 6 months or does not get any comment or interaction, they are moved to stagnant by bot. If an author decides to withdraw something, it goes to withdrawn. If everything goes well, a proposal is considered to be an Ethereum standard that is available on the repository for rest of the community to follow. If a dApp developer wants to develop a project on top of that, you're more than welcome. So the process is described in one of the Catalyst Medium blog, the new Ethereum improvement process. When a proposal is in draft, review, last call, or living, they are heavily reviewed, like they are continuously reviewed by community or the EIP editor or the devs. But once finalized, it is done. No more changes are generally expected. This is just a high-level network upgrade process. So it is divided into 3 different phases. Consider for inclusion when a proposal is just discussed. DevNet phase is the phase when It is approved by client team, and they have put it into developers testnet. And then comes the mainnet phase where it goes to public testnet and finally on the mainnet. But this network upgrade process is only followed by one category of EIP, which is called as a core EIP. So that's all. At this point, I would like to open the floor for anyone. If you have questions related to the category type or process, or in general related to EIP editing, please feel free to jump in and share with us.
I guess a probably typical question would be like, how many rounds of review does a successful proposal typically go through?
Matthew would like to take that.
Sure. I think there's like a pretty big discrepancy right now between the amount of reviews that ERCs get and the core EIPs get. So for core EIP, that's going to be reviewed by, editors like myself and Micah and Alex, and we'll make sure that it conforms to all of the EIP 1 rules and everything. And then you also have a lot of other core developers who are reviewing the actual content of the EIP, and they'll bring it to all core devs meetings and have people discuss it. And so it goes through like quite a bit of review, not just on conformance to EIP 1, but also, is this a good idea? Is this something we should do? ERCs tend to have a lot less review in terms of how much people spend time looking at what this ERC actually does. And because I'm pretty much the only person who's reviewing ERCs at the moment, I tend to be a lot more lax with the requirements of the ERC. Like if someone is willing to put the time in and continue like making pull requests and moving it forward, I tend to just allow them to do that as long as there's nothing like egregious happening. But the quality of the ERCs tend to be like a lot lower because of that. I don't have the time to like really go through in depth and get it to a place where I think that it would be like really high quality. And when I started editing, that was kind of like what I hoped the editor position would be in. It would help curate like a really strong set of standards for Ethereum. And I think that because we've been like understaffed, it's been difficult for us to like actually do that kind of curation. It's more just like somebody is here now, wants to make a standard. Okay, we'll try and help them make a standard in a way that's readable for everyone else, but we're not going to spend much time thinking about like, does that ERC even make sense? So to your question, like how many reviews, at least a review for every time they change the status. So that would be like draft to review, review to last call to final. So forth.
Yeah, that makes sense. And actually what I've seen aligns pretty well with what you said, which is that some of the ERC standards, like you actually talk to people in the community, you're like, you think having no knowledge of this process, like, oh, it's an ERC standard, like this must be something that's like heavily used. And then you go and talk to people and they're like, actually, no, that is not really the most optimal way to do it or something like that. So that kind of aligns with what I've conversations have had.
Totally. It's unfortunate when we get some of these bigger ERCs and we can't get consensus from the community on the right way to do it. And so you end up having different versions of basically the same ERC, where you have like different prepended byte values or like slightly different things in the signature. And so now you have people implementing essentially the same thing, but they just couldn't come to consensus at that time.
Is that something that the editors would have a role in, like identifying this is basically the same as this other one? Let's talk with these guys and change that one? Or is it not really about the content at all and more conforming to EIP 1?
So the editor positions right now tend to be a lot more about conformance. For a long time, I've really wished that the editors also helped, herd cats in a sense, like help herd the ideas and the work. And I would love to see more like working group styles of specification groups where, you could have an NFT group and you could say, we care a lot about NFTs. We're ingrained in what's happening in the NFT world. And here are things that we think we could do to the NFT standards to make them better. And I think that that would help avoid some of these situations, because a lot of times this situation happens because two companies want to do something similar, and maybe one proposes an EIP, or someone comes along a little bit after the EIP is proposed and they say, yeah, let's do that. And they don't want to wait around for something to get standardized. And so they'll just take it. And I mean, that even happened in Ethereum. Like, we chose some hash function that was almost standardized, and then we freaking changed it. And now everyone uses a different SHA-3 than we use. So it's like really easy for it to happen. I think like having more people editing would help avoid these situations where things get stuck and people just want to use it. But yeah, I think like the ultimate ideal world is that we have more people thinking preemptively about how to improve the like specification landscape.
I think there is already a working group, I guess led by Anat.
Yeah.
Does an EIP editor also involve with the author in mentioning that the technical specs are not meeting to certain criteria or something like that? Or can they add their own input as to how it can be improved? Or is the EIP editor just making sure that the documentation is uh, uh, in the best format as possible so the community can then start looking into that?
Yeah, the number one responsibility is making sure that the format is correct, that it's conforming, that the like prose of the EIP is high quality, so that it's something that can be disseminated to the community. You know, there's the kind of a weird balance, because it tends to be that the EIP editors are the only people who read some of the EIPs, and the EIP editors also tend to be really knowledgeable about these things. And so they tend to also give advice on what's good and what's not good. I think like number one job is make sure that it's readable and something that people can understand and communicate about. And then secondary is, you know, hey, this is technically not sound for some reason, or this is potentially a better solution.
How many EIPs are typically proposed in like a week?
Puja probably has really good numbers for that.
New proposals, we don't get that like very often, but in a month, we generally get about 4 to 5 new proposals.
It sounds so small when you say it like that.
That's what stats says. Like I have started this EIP's Insight, providing information on a monthly basis, and that's what is the stats that we have collected so far.
It's decentralized, so I'm guessing I know the answer to this, but is there any sort of assignment of like it's your turn, or is it whoever gets the PR first?
It tends to be whoever gets the PR first, but basically it's a race between me and Micah, and Micah has decided he will do no ERCs anymore, and so now there's no race.
Which he does sometimes.
He does sometimes, yeah. If he sees that I haven't responded in a week or so, he might like go in and say something. But it tends to be I'm the only one who edits ERCs, and then core EIPs, he tends to get there before I do. But it, you know, normally when we have had like multiple people actively editing, it was that we would all contribute some sort of review, and we would kind of like let it sit for a couple of days and let the reviews trickle in on the core EIP.
I think here is like, it's not that if one editor has already given their review comment, no one else can do that. Anyone can come up with like a different approach of that. And that's the goal that we are trying to achieve here with like getting more comments to a proposal. So whatever is needed to make it as a very good standard should be met before we reach to the last call. Generally what happens, like proposals keeps on getting passed from one status to another status. And by the time it reaches to the last call, many people jump up suddenly and says that, no, this is not right. We want these changes. So yeah, you are free to comment anytime you find that you can help improve.
This is probably quite subjective, but how many EIP editors working, how often are we aiming for here in order to be, I suppose, at a level that we're comfortable that we're not neglecting any part of the process?
Probably on the order of 5 to 10.
In a I think it was Sam Wilson's Peep and Eep, where he mentioned that I think it was for execution specs. So it would fall under core EIP, I assume, right? Am I correct? Yeah. So I think Sam Wilson mentioned that some changes around the way the EIP has to be written, and the code has to be added regarding that. And Alita asked in the follow-up questions that will the EIP editors require any programming knowledge? So has there any consensus been formed around that, or is it finalized? I might have got the yeah.
Yeah, I don't think any consensus has been formed around that yet. You know, when we figure out how exactly we're going to change the process to be more spec driven, that will be a discussion. I'm guessing that like the EIPs, that as we understand them, there tends to be that the specification is, you know, under 50% of the EIP, and the specification would kind of be replaced with code. And then you still have a lot of other information like the summaries and the rationale and the motivation for the EIP. And that would be stuff that we would want to continue to be edited. And then for me, like in terms of ERCs, I don't write very much Solidity, and I tend to not review much of the Solidity in the specification for the ERC. So that's just like some context for what like level of technical understanding you need.
I had a question about if you could give an example of a high quality proposal versus like something that's really bad, like just like 2 example proposals we could look up later.
Yeah, so let me write a couple in here. I know that I think 1559 is a great, like a good EIP example. I think that 2718 is a good example. I think 3074 is, these are 3 that I think are like pretty well written. And if you like also follow some of the other like meta information about the EIPs, like via the discussion link, you'll generally see that there's like high quality discussion in those, that the authors are doing a good job trying to corral discussion and keep the discussion links up to date. And like 1559 in particular, like Tim had some, was it like a HackMD or was it like a full web page?
I can find the documents here.
Yeah, Tim
It
had
was a
this like
HackMD.
link tree with a bunch of like 1559 links to just like
Right.
assimilate everything all together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think to be clear though, 1559 was like bigger than your average EIPs. So I think this is kind of why it was needed. But yeah, I shared the link in the chat here.
These are kind of like different sizes of EIPs. Like 1559 is very big, 2718 is a little bit smaller, and then 3074 is also like a little bit smaller, and they all have like slightly different approaches to exactly how things have been handled. There is an EIP draft that I've been
While you're booting that up, I'll just throw in that also all 3 are core, so they look a little bit different than an ERC, but I still think they're great examples.
Yeah, totally. There is an ERC that I have decided to stop responding to because I've tried to work with the author and have not made a lot of progress. Let me see if I find it. And that would be an example of one that is not very good.
Oh, I think I know which one you mean. Yeah, I think it's
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so this one here, I'll drop this link in here. So this one is 3602. I've like left some reviews for the author, and it's just at some point I can't like force them to write it in a different way. And like the unfortunate thing is that Ethereum is very like English centric. And I think it's fairly clear this is not their first language. And so they've been like struggling to get it into a place where I think that it's like very readable for community members. And I've tried to like leave feedback on this. And there's also like, they have a citation here. This is like not a valid thing. I've like left a lot of feedback, and we've gone through a couple of rounds of reviews and it hasn't progressed. And so now I've essentially just, I'm just kind of letting it sit here to stagnate until the bot responds. If they continue to request and continue to push, like we'll have to see what happens. But like I've done a fair amount of reviewing and it's still not in a place where I am like comfortable merging it. So that's like an example of something that's like not been a successful ERC.
I think an EIP can be improved, like, when someone is trying to document, there is a template available with us. The link is available in EIP 1. They can follow that. The important thing here is to follow up with the author and get that changes implemented, whatever are the suggestions coming up from EIP editing team. So that is one of the key roles. So I think that would be helpful as a contributor here.
So Josh is asking if editors are encouraged to help technical writing circumstances like that. Of course, we have infinite time. It's great. And especially if it's like a higher quality. So I think the like original idea of that is kind of a bit of a duplicate of like several different ERCs that sort of exist. If this like hypothetical situation occurs where this is like a really great idea, and we think that like it's important for like the general direction of specification that we want to have, that I would say like, yes, like we should try and work together with that author and get it to a place where it's, really high quality. And I tend to do more technical writing review on high quality EIPs that are already really close to being merged, because I am like anticipating these are going to be more distributed than like some of these like EIPs that are kind of duplicate ideas or very like minor novel ideas, if that.
So if a new EIP comes and it's somehow seems like a duplicate of an existing one, which might be stagnant or which might be in the review process or might have reached its finality, what do you do about it?
So yeah, each of those situations would be different. If it was final, then like of course we should shuttle them towards that EIP and just be like, look, you're proposing something that's already been proposed, it's been finalized. Can you use this or not? And if they can't, then maybe that's a reason for them to have a new EIP. If it's stagnant, and this is a good reason for them to create the EIP, someone like had the idea, but they're actually going to champion it and try and bring it to finalization, that's totally good. If there's another EIP in review, and this is where it's like really valuable for editors to try and corral those two authors together. Hey, you want to do this with NFTs, they want to do that with NFTs, they're almost the same thing. Like, can you guys just work together on the same EIP, ERC? Power in numbers there, and hopefully you can come to like some sort of agreement where you can both use that, and now more people are reviewing and looking at that, and that tends to increase the quality.
What is your expectations as far as us getting up to speed? Do you want us to just sort of read EIP 1, the Medium posts that Pooja's linked, and then just go for it, and we'll improve along with like our feedback will be edited by you as the same time that we're editing.
Yeah, totally. I think so. I mean, the way that I did it was I just turned on notifications to the GitHub repository. I read EIP 1, and then I just started pretending like I was an EIP editor. I would put a review in. I would say, hello, this is your number. Like the people who open PRs, they have no idea who the editors are. They're like, this person responded to my PR. That's an editor. And when an editor comes in, they say, okay, look, like client has responded and they've made some good points. The editor will continue to review it, and it kind of just like reduces the amount of work the editor needs to do. They can sort of like already get this first pass that this other person has gone through it, and now they can like focus on some different things. So if like you guys can start doing that right now, obviously EIP 1 is the most important thing to have a good understanding of. These calls tend to be like me just editing together with people, and we like start to see how I edit, and that's like not the absolute canonical way. Mike edits differently than I do, but it's just like a good to see someone who like is doing it, how they do it, and like what we think through. And so if we run out of questions, we can do that for a little bit as well.
Yeah, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, please go ahead.
Oh, I was about to say that I was actually going to ask the question of, well, how do you figure out if there's already like a similar proposal? And then of course there's tags if you go to the issues. So I looked for like ERC, and then I found this really interesting token standard that is supposed to prevent the problem of like contracts receiving tokens that they're not supposed to. I think it's pretty interesting. But yeah, I was going to ask that question. Like, do you ever have difficulty finding like a duplicate or having to search through a bunch of issues. I don't see that for the ERC20s, but I'm just curious in general.
It tends to be more built up knowledge of what exists in the EAP, ERC, PRs and finalized and like kind of where they are. After doing this for a little while, you'll start to get a feeling of like what other things exist. If you just go onto the eeps.com, eeps.ethereum.org website that has all of the EIPs, and you kind of start to like see something and you're like, huh, I've reviewed something like this before, or like this reminds me of this other thing. It doesn't really happen that much. It just tends to be that there's like a very specific niche of NFT ERCs that all seem to be like very minor changes of the NFT ERC. And you start to see this pattern of people wanting to like slightly change it.
Yeah, it's something royalties.
Exactly.
So what would your approach be to that, Matt?
I tend to ask like, hey, this looks a lot like this one. And they tend to say, it's not like that one. And then I say, it looks like that one. And then they say no. And then I merge their PR because I don't have time to like also herd all the NFT ERCs. But like in the ideal world with some sort of like this NFT working group, it would be great if there was an editor who was also part of that group who was able to like bridge those two worlds and say,
I
look,
should
you're
do
like
that.
pushing, you're
They
pushing that
should be
thing.
me.
You're pushing this thing and we're working on this standard, and you know, you should come into the fold and we'll work on this together. I think that would be successful.
Is there any kind of like automated GitHub actions for checking if like code in an ERC or an EIP at least like compiles?
There is an infinite number of things we could do in CI. It's just a matter of like putting engineers to make it happen. I 100% support like something that would go through and find code snippets and compile them if they're Solidity. That's not something that's been added, but I think it would be a great idea because I don't like having to copy code and then compile it with the Solidity version that they've specified.
Doesn't it, the CI does check a few things though, doesn't it? Doesn't it check like if the right headers are there and things like that?
Yeah, so the CI, what the CI tool does currently is it checks some conformance to EIP1. So there's like this preamble at the beginning of the EIP that has the title and the author and the description, the discussion link, and EIPs requires. And so there's a validator that will like go through that and validate to make sure that these like all conform to how they should. Because these things are used to populate some of the web page on the eeps.ethereum.org site. So that validates that. And there's another EIP bot that Alita Moore has worked on that does a little bit more checking, and it actually will merge things depending on like the exact situation. So if you're like creating a new EIP, it will review it, but it won't merge because an editor has to merge the initial EIP. But once you have it as draft and you put a PR to update your EIP, that bot will actually merge it if it passes like the conformance checks that it does. But it doesn't do like more intricate things. Like it would be great if we could go through and we can make sure that all of the required subheadings of the EIPs are included. Like you have the abstract, you have the motivation, the spec, the rationale, the backwards. If you have all those things, it'd be great if a bot checked that. And then like you said, if we could check if the code compiles, that would be another thing. It's just, we haven't had the engineering time to like build those things out, but they're like super welcome if anyone's interested.
Right, please reach out to cat herders. We are looking for more engineers in this direction to help out and improve the current EIP bot and add features. If you are interested, reach us. Well, Matt, yeah, I was just wondering if Matt, you would like to take some time and walk us through the editing process, and we can also take some questions in between, so people can have a pretty good idea of how to kind of review the issues and the pull requests.
Sorry, my audio cut out there for the last piece of that.
Sorry, I think I interrupted someone asking questions, so please like throw out your question as well, and we can also work through that. Yeah.
Oh no, I was just going to ask regarding the EIP part, but basically Lightning had already mentioned. I think there is some discussion going on regarding the external links. how to take a snapshot of them, maybe put it on IPFS or Web Archive Wayback Machine. So has anyone picked up that task? Where can I track if someone has picked up and tried something regarding
Mm,
that?
No one has picked up that task. Unfortunately, there's not a great way of figuring that out unless you just ask Micah and I. There's kind
Okay.
of a couple places where these things happen. There's like this Discord channel on the Ethereum cat herders, it's the EIP editors. There's like discussion that happens there, and that would be like an easy place to ask. And then if there were to be like actual work happening, it would either be an issue in the EIPs repository, which is like kind of hard to follow because people also use those for discussion links. And then the alternatives would be an issue on the Ethereum/EIP-bot repository. So those would be the places that if that work was happening, you would see it. It's just that asking the people tends to be faster.
Got it.
But
Thank
no,
you.
nothing is happening with regards to that. Should we edit a couple EIPs?
That would
Wow.
be nice. Yeah.
Or
Alrighty.
I'm
Usually we
gonna have
have
to hop in like 5, but yeah, sounds fun.
you have to what?
I'm gonna have to hop
Oh,
out
you have
in
to
like
hop.
5
Okay,
minutes.
okay. No worries. Yeah, this is a lot of pressure. Normally we have less people, so I might get a little bit of stage fright editing real time. We'll see how it goes. Okay, so I use GitHub notifications. Some people use email, just like whatever you feel more comfortable with. Neither is like perfect solution, but I have it turned on so I get notifications of every single pull request that happens in the EIPs repository. You can turn it on also for issues, but I find that just as long as I'm reviewing the pull request, then that's what's important. There was an important one that I need to review, and let me see if I can figure out which one it is.
I'll also just throw in, I did say last time that I'd try and reach out to Santiago about 1967. He did this before I did, but you can tell that he got this back online.
Oh, okay.
Oh, right, this is me though. I
you.
decided I'd try and push it into review.
Okay. We will wait for him. There was actually one from forgetting his name, from Gnosis, and I do want to get that
Martin?
reviewed. No, not Martin. It was Luca. Okay, so this was August 26th when it opened. Micah reviewed it. And then I reviewed it. And now they're planning to launch it. So this is like a situation where he opened in August as a specification, and now they're wanting to launch an implementation of the EIP. And the problem would be is that like we haven't been able to get it to a final status. And I don't even know if we've gotten this like initially merged, like 3770. We haven't even got it merged. And so this is like probably more on the fault of the EIP editors, but also probably because we've left feedback and it's just taking like longer for them to respond and get it done. So now like we should try and get it accepted before they release something, because then you get into the situation that we talked about where they release something and somebody else is like, oh, I didn't even see this was a thing because it was draft and now I disagree with it and I'm going to make my own thing that's the same but like slightly different. So because it's been reviewed a lot, this would be like a lighter review. I'm basically going to like make sure that everything is conforming to proper format and everything. So I'm checking that we've got the abstract, we've got the motivation. Should also kind of review. Okay, they're introducing a new address standard. And so this is like another thing that frustrates me. I don't know what the proper way of spelling DAP is, but I feel like that's not it. But we don't really, I don't think there's a style guide on EIP1 that explains how to spell that. No. We do have a style guide, but it refers to EIP numbers and this. So this is like another thing that would be great if we had, but we don't. Anyways, they have that. this EIP emerges from increasing adoption of non-mainnet Ethereum change. Yes. So they're linking to these chain agnostic CAIPs. I don't even know how one would pronounce that. This is, I think this is okay to link externally to these. Again, this is ERC, so Micah is not gonna be too upset that we're merging this, but also this is trying to bridge these two worlds of standardization bodies. So I think that that's acceptable. Okay, they have a specification. That would be the next section. And they do link to our Ethereum lists. Or this isn't ours, is it? Curated Ethereum lists. Okay. Yeah, this is probably also fine. They've got the semantics. Okay. And they have
The fact that
rationale.
it's CAIP also lends a certain level of what's the word I'm looking for? Credibility.
Legitimacy.
Legitimacy, credibility.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, this looks good to me. I'm gonna just like really quickly look at the feedback that I left last time and make sure that like those things were generally resolved. Okay, let me make sure. So like he put requires CAIPs, but like this is not a format that's because the preamble like is only understands the EIP world, and the EIP world has no CAIPs. So let me make sure that that was something that they did address. They did remove it. That's what we needed. We also want to make sure there's no unresolved complaints about the EIP. Because it's going into draft, this is like less serious, but generally sometimes when people are moving things to last call and to final, there might be outstanding complaints, and it's important to make sure that you're not finalizing something where someone in the community was saying, hey, this is a problem. Okay, it would be useful to link to the CAIP. He did link to it. Remove the excess spaces. Please move this image into the EIP repository. I think that he literally just deleted it. No, he did add it. Okay, he added it to the assets folder, 3770. These all look correct.
How did he have permission to do that?
Well, this is a PR, so he can just add it to his PR.
Oh,
create a new
gotcha. Okay,
folder.
yeah.
Yeah. And then yeah, the bot will probably throw a fit because it's adding a different file, but we can force it to be merged. Okay, so the bot, so Travis CI is where we have like the automated checks happening, or some of the automated checks happening. So it's failing and we need to understand why it's failing. So generally this should pass. The problem is that sometimes when you have files, yeah, so it says EIP must be named like that. So that's probably because they're adding an image, and the EIP bot still does not understand image formats. So we'll just like look and we'll just visually check. Okay, they're adding all these things. That's correct. So I'm probably gonna have to force merge this just because the bots are not doing the correct job. But I just want to make sure that that's like the only reason it's not failing. There's not a misspelling somewhere. So I can click on the job for CI and it'll take me to Travis, and I can look and see to make sure. Okay, so this is the EIP validator output. So it's actually saying that there's some things missing. So it has trailing white space and unknown field, and it's missing the author field. So we should take a look and see why that's happening. Okay, so he says authors here. This is supposed to be only author. So that's why that's failing. And there's a trailing space right there, it looks like. So I'm going to review that. I'm just going to force push this myself because this has been sitting for a while. And this is not really changing the meaning of the EIP. It's just getting it to conform with the EIP 1. So I'm going to review that and then I will commit it. So I'll make that change, and that will force the bot to rerun, and we would like to see Travis passing. And if Travis passes, then I'll force merge it. While it runs, we can see what else we've got going on.
We are really close to the time.
Oh, it's only 1 hour. Okay.
I'm fine if people would like to stay for like 5-10 minutes on top.
Yeah, let's wrap up. Yeah, however you want to do it. Any questions, then I'll stick around for a bit and keep reviewing.
Did you catch Josh's question in the comments? I'm sort of curious about that as well. Do you care
Could you
about
repeat it for me?
care about the file names matching the naming convention?
As in like the assets?
Yeah, it looked like he's saying the casing on that file is different from the EIP itself.
Let's look. Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, I wish they wouldn't do that, but also, I kind of think of this like folder as their little sandbox. They can treat it however they want, and if they want to double up on their EIP, like I don't think that you should put the EIP name in the name of the file in the folder it's already in. I saw that in Crunched, but it's his sandbox, and that's how he decided he was going to name it. So it doesn't break any specific naming conventions that we have. Do you have anything you want to do to wrap up, Pooja?
Yeah, right. I would first just kind of briefly summarize this. I understand that most of us who are in this call have pretty good idea of what we are expecting with this position maybe, and what we are looking forward to. So we are just trying to invite more participation to maybe add review comments and improvement suggestions to this open pull request, which can actually help us, get it started before we actually at the last call. And communication is like really important, like Lightline mentioned when he was sharing his screen, that we need to let author know what needs to be done. As an EIP editor, I think it is very important that they should know what we are expecting, because many of the people who actually submitted their proposals, they are new and they don't even know the exact format. We recommend to read EIP 1, but there are chances that they might miss out on. So it's not that we have to be like technically skilled to, like there was one question, like you need to be a developer to be able to review. That's an added bonus point. But if you think that you're going to help make it better, or you have interacted with people who are trying to implement this, your comment, your suggestions are going to be helpful. And we have planned a PEEP meeting with Matt Gannett to kind of list all these secrets of EIP editing on December 14th. So stay tuned for more information coming out on Ethereum Cathode's Discord for this particular meeting. And if people are interested, we can have another meeting in like 2 weeks. And in the meantime, you guys, please feel free to post your questions in EIP Editors channel at the ECH GitHub. We hope that that would be answered before the next meeting. And I would like to thank everyone for joining us today, and Matt Gannett for taking out time and providing this training to this amazing group of new contributors. That's all for now, I hope, and hope to see you all around, and maybe in the next meeting. I'll provide more information on the Discord channel.
Nice meeting all of you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank
you
you so
too.
much for doing this.
Yeah, thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you, everyone.